Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief Recap. Happy Monday morning. TGIM and all that. Let's just make sure YouTube's working. Welcome back to the... It is. Yay. I like the fact that I do this every single day. I only take Saturdays off, so that's good. So it always holds me to account. And of course, Mama told you there'd be days like this. If you are an equity investor, best to maybe cool your jets a bit as the stock market tries to find some sort of footing. For whatever it's worth, I'm feeling great relief this morning that I let all my oil proxies go over the past few weeks, as they're getting absolutely destroyed here this morning. I think I exited my last oil stock the middle of last week, and I noticed like this morning it was down 50% right on the open. Boom! So it just goes to show, stock market can be just as volatile, just as crazy as any crypto market that you met, and try and pick your levels. And of course, if you are going to speculate and trade, you better make darn sure to identify appropriate risk levels, and if those risk levels are taken out, you have to act, or else things can turn really ugly really quickly. And of course, probably too, if you're playing the equity markets, sometimes you actually have to go through periods where it's just all about capital preservation, and he who fights or runs away lives to fight another day. I guess we had a very long conversation in the daily brief today about sort of overview, talking about like Saudi Aramco and what's going on there, the feud with Russia. Unfortunately, Canada's in a really, really bad situation here now with our local energy markets. Mexican peso's collapsing because a huge part of its regular revenues are oil-based. I fear for the people in Venezuela right now. I mean, they're dead. Interestingly enough, I hate to say it, harken back to these celestial events, but I really don't like the idea of even thinking about picking bottoms in any of these markets until we get to the 5th of April. Our first big sort of celestial conjunction event here. And it's weird too, because I like the idea of the market sort of pivoting around the Easter long weekend, and somebody told me, oh, by the way, Brian, Easter is delayed a week this year. I mean, just everything about this year is just so screwy. So I don't know whether it corresponds with the Easter weekend or not, but my feeling here is don't be a hero. There's no reason to be a hero here, right? And everybody who was crypto related, was there any reason to be a hero in say March, April, May of 2018 in calling bottoms in crypto? No. I mean, your best bet was actually just to cool your jets and just let the dust settle. And I hate to say it, but that's probably the way it is in the stock market right now. So with that backdrop, fun, party. Don't expect a heck of a lot of bullishness out of Brian today. And as you can see, getting the day going, pulling up just sort of what's trading in the marketplace, you can see this is an absolute mess. I will fully acknowledge, man, fuck, did I ever miss that damn good trade on the bond market? I can't believe I was so complacent on that. And the weird part about it is I even remember when we were talking to you guys on these sort of daily videos, I even said through here, oh, you could hunt a bot setup and, it'd probably take you higher, but I'm not looking for lower interest rates. I'm looking for higher interest rates, and fuck you, Brian. Oh, Jesus H. Christ. I missed a hell of a good trade there. Damn it. It pisses me off. But anyway, what can you do? Just because the old chart was getting just so busy, I thought this morning, hey, why don't we just do up a fresh one and take a look at some levels here. Some kind of funny price action jumping out at me on the U.S. dollar index. This U.S. dollar index now turning into an absolute mess. And the scuttlebutt that I'm sort of hearing is the flu virus is moving to the U.S. shores, and so now it's state by state by state, we're shutting these schools down. Chaos reigns. Um, I think the market was a little bit spooked by the Fed coming out and just cutting interest rates by 50 basis points as sort of putting a bandage on this. And, this new guy, Powell, he's learning, and he's learning the hard way, that you have to be very careful when and how you act, even how you speak. I remember the days of Alan Greenspan. He would always have exactly the same face. Happy face, sad face, excited, depressed, exactly the same face. And there was a funny cartoon that was put out that back in the 90s about his complete, nobody could read what the Fed was going to do. And ironically enough, that's actually probably a smart thing. And Mr. Powell, of course, here, knee jerk, oh, I know, I'll fix it with the 50 basis points, totally like Trump's bitch, which really stupid. And also that Secretary of Treasury, man, and I really don't like that guy. Very, very suspicious. Remember, $7.5 billion through January leaps options expiring. Nobody says boo. Everybody now blaming all this price correction on coronavirus. Fuck you. That was all manipulated. But anyway, don't get Brian all started on that stuff. Actually, and we did a really cool study on Friday or on Saturday with the level 3ers looking at the derivatives markets. And you can plainly see exactly where Goldman Sachs is moving this market, and they're also even playing with emotions, basically manipulating the VIX index to their benefit. It's kind of sad how blatantly manipulated this market really is. But having said that, it is what it is, and we're trying to come here on a daily basis and, try and make a little bit of money, try and stay on the right side of the market. I guess my general message here is noticing these moves to higher highs. I was feeling bullish, and I've told you guys recently, as long as we made higher highs and higher lows, I was bullish. The break of these lows here on Friday was a big warning sign that there's trouble. And indeed, we've careened even lower here. And, I like the idea of hunting shorts on things like the euro because I don't like the economics out of Europe right now. But that euro just keeps powering higher, so there's really not a hell of a lot trade-wise for me to do there. I just got to wait for it to finish its move. But, I was even talking with the site members here today. Where's my euro chart? Here it is. That, ironically enough, this is all about trade location. We're coming up to 38.2, so we've got an interesting notch here on the profile. But I'm kind of thinking, this is a pretty precipitous rally. Let's just call a spade a spade. We could either do one of two things. If we V-top here and come back down into reload booms, this might actually set up a long entry. I wouldn't want to take that trade, but that's just me. What I'm actually kind of thinking, which would make more sense given this market state, is we actually zip right up into reload short zones. And if I can get some sort of topping pattern up here, oh my God, I'm going to love that. But as you can see, we're just right in the middle of nowhere right here. I think what did happen here is, I had made reference to this recently, we had this monstrous gap on the euro. Basically, they came down, they filled in the gap to a certain degree with a little bit of a wick there, but in essence filled the open hole and then just took the price right back up. So, as it stands right now in currency land, and given the broader sort of economic confusion right now, I don't think any of these things are operating off of economics. I think they're just all operating off of emotion. And, of course, there's that big planetary cycle event coming up. And I have a feeling that's what's driving human behavior right now. So you put it all together, and interestingly enough, this US dollar index to me actually says exactly what the market state is. Absolute confusion, chaos. Don't make any big bets. Don't make any big sort of, I think this is going to happen, so I'm going to mortgage my house and go for it. Right now, it's sort of like let the dust settle. And, things like the stock market, I've just been telling, and I fully believe in this. You can actually see it in crypto as well. The correlation of this date coming up here and some sort of pivot back to sort of normalcy, that's right on that big planetary conjunction date. I don't think we turn back up until then. That's still like the beginning of April. So the rest of this March, it's going to be a mess. And I don't see any reason why the S&Ps can't trade down here to this 25, 2600 handle here. just exactly like we do with all the crypto AB equals CDs. And you want to see an ABCD that just shocked me was, recently, of course, I've been saying I'm not too impressed with oil. And like I said, to start off the broadcast, I'm kind of glad I walked away from all those oil names. And I was under the impression that, okay, they'll take some time and just work its way down here, and boom, they did it in one day. Fuckers. And look how we're sitting right on that AB equals CD objective. That's ridiculous. We're sitting right there. Actually, I guess we're a little bit higher now. Oh, here we are. So there's the doji candle. So we went through that AB equals CD objective, and then all the traders were like, okay, well, we can go and buy our crude oil back down here below $30. I certainly wasn't expecting that. That's for sure. I mean, holy crazy, 2020. I had sort of said last week, I don't really want to buy or invest in oil for a very, very long time, because I was expecting them to take a good year or two, maybe even a few years to work it down to these levels, not in one day. What I find fascinating about this is, if you read the financial rags, everybody's like, oh, screw coronavirus. Now we're talking about Russia and Saudi Arabia having a price war in the oil markets. So, I would actually argue that this is more try and see the message of the forest through the trees. This was Junior Bush and their blatant manipulation of the oil market. I found it fascinating that, of course, what generated this rally in the oil market? The war on terror. It was really interesting to note today that the Prime Minister of Sudan came out and said, I was just, somebody took a pop at me, an assassination attempt, and it was terror-related, and didn't catch a single interest in the market size. Market couldn't give a flying fuck. And it just goes to show, and, maybe it was, particular cycle where we're obsessed with, terrorism and stuff like that. Nobody's interested in terrorism anymore. I found that fascinating. Also, too, the roly-poly-oly idiot over there in North Korea, he's been squawking about how he wants to saber rattle and all that kind of shit. I wouldn't even be surprised if he was told to do so to try and get the conversation changed. Here, this idiot. I also think here, too, this is kind of like, okay, we got to do something to fucking put a floor in crude price. Something. Anybody do something. But I don't think the market gives a fuck about this guy anymore either. And I mean, this is idiocy. Somebody fucking knock that guy off and let's get rid of North Korea. It drives me nuts. Why do people like this even exist in this world? Anyway, now Brian's getting all ranty. Sorry. Back to the conversation. Crazy Brian. So, stock market, still thinking AB equals CDs to take a slower. Risk is off. Crude oil, interesting how it actually hit its objective. So ironically enough, now actually you could probably make the argument that we're going to do some back and forth here for a while. I certainly have no interest in buying crude. I mean, yeah, I could understand from a trade, but I don't like oil. I don't want to be invested in oil going forward. So I've disconnected from the oil business. Now, it's actually interesting because I got interested in, I was a crude oil trader there for a while. And I did participate quite a bit in the big bull market of Junior Bush. But that's an old story. I don't want to be invested in oil. And really, I expect to see more of this as time goes by. And I think you can clearly make the argument $50 a barrel now is an absolute brick wall now on crude. So that's now going to be a ceiling, not a floor. Risk off. Clearly, the bonds continue to catch a bid. Way to go, Brian. Totally dropped the ball on that trade. And look at the W in hindsight now. You look at that and you go, oh, fuck me. But, oh, well, it is what it is. Live and learn, journal. Try and learn from your mistakes. I was actually a little surprised that the gold actually here is showing red here on the candle. Now it's up. But this candle is just based on where it opens relative to where it is now, the color of it. But, is this a midpoint consolidation doji? Could be. We'll have to watch how oil acts here. I certainly have no interest in chasing ES longs here now. Really, I don't see any reason why any of this should change until the end of the month, beginning of April. So, Certainly don't short bonds. That's just asking for trouble. I don't know whether I really have a trade or even an idea in the gold market. And the interesting thing about the gold market is, remember, we were trading these gold stocks. I mean, that's not a sign of a big bull market. Maybe start painting some W's and, maybe we can get some divergences and stuff in the indicators. But I got nothing to work with there now. I got gaps to the downside, which means we could very easily trade right back down to this trend line. I got gaps to the upside. This thing is just Swiss cheese, and it could be all over the map here. So I just don't have a trade. A lot of what I'm doing today is actually just telling people, look, I'm just cooling my jets right now. I've got stink bids in on some parts of the market that I like. But, it's interesting. I have to obey price action. And so here's an example where I kind of liked Novogratz. But at the same time, too, I definitely know I can't trust him as far as I could throw him. And you might even find that they painted this bottom to try and get a bunch of people to go long just to fuck them. Anyway you shake it, I didn't like when I saw that Novogratz couldn't hold these lows this morning, and when the market was going into free fall on the open there. I mean, this thing traded down to like 60 cents, so it means inherently there is no bid in his stock. So on the loss of these levels, like I've shown you recently, I went and bought this W right here, so I had to bite the 20 cent loss on the stock. I'm not in love with these names. If they fail, I don't want to be married to them. I will take that loss. It's trader's life. Interesting, on the other side of the equation, though, we had this gap in HUT down here at 90 cents forever. And I sort of told you that, I was going to be buying reload zones, and I liked the price action down in here, but I had one more bid that still needed to be filled. And actually, I got filled here this morning on this guy. So it's interesting. One crypto stock I walked away from. Another crypto stock, actually, I added to the position, but now you can see if we lose these lows on HUT, I'll have to walk away from this too. Sucks. I mean, this is the bad part about doing these videos for you guys every single day, day in, day out. You get to see all my warts. It's fun when we're in a bull market. Woohoo, making out doubles, look how smart I am. Ah! But we get into markets like this, and you got to be like, okay, well, I was wrong. Better capital preservation mode. Next bus in 10 minutes. So for whatever it's worth, FYI, I liquidated the Galaxy, I think at 91, 92 this morning on the failure of these lows. And I actually was able to buy, and I got filled at 90 cents on HUT. So in essence, it's just out of one and into the other. Go figure. So that's what I've been doing in the stock market today. Full disclosure, I'm an open book for you guys. Do you like the trades? Great, join me. You don't like the trades? Make fun of me. I don't care. The only thing I don't like on these free YouTube pages is when I start to see other people start to counsel people how to trade. I think that's dangerous. You want to learn how TRI trades. If you like following my approach, get on the website. Pony up, what is it, like 30, 40 bucks a month or something like that. And you can come into the lounge and you can chat with us for like 24 hours a day. And, you can pick my brain all day long. But as I sort of went at length there on the Broiler Chicken show yesterday, don't use these free videos as your education, because I think you're just selling yourself short. You really are. Anyway, enough of that. On to Bitcoin. And actually, we had sort of talked about this, and in a weird sort of way, I kind of like what I'm seeing here. In that we had this 18th of February auction event, and I had sort of said that you're going to know whether Bitcoin has actually bottomed if following that event, interesting, we have somebody who's joining us for this call, even though the daily brief is over, sir. So, somebody... and he was removed, and he'll be back in a moment. Anyway, I had kind of speculated, I kind of hoped that, we would just have a straight scream down into reload zone, tag mountain man, and then this is where we're going to actually find out whether this thing is actually bottomed. I did hear some people on, social media and stuff talking about, hey, Brian, do you see this inverted head and shoulders? I do see it out there. Question ultimately is, are these lows going to hold? You just don't know in this crazy game called trading. I do like the idea of buying crypto for the next cycle. And I got to tell you, crude oil is an example of last cycle. And I remember when the dot-com cycle ended, those stocks just collapsed and they never came back. And actually, I do expect a lot of these energy companies, especially the marginal ones, they're going to go bankrupt. So I love the idea of loading up on crypto through the next, if Wall Street turtles, this turns out to be the market top, setting myself up for this next cycle, I would consider pullbacks, buying opportunities in crypto. I don't know whether this is the floor or not. Nobody does. We had a great presentation by Stewart, of course, in the Daily Brief, and actually I asked him to. What's the best way to do this? I'll just throw this on. I asked him to, just for curiosity, throw on the 200-week moving average for Bitcoin. And there it is there. Notice how well it worked as support previously. Could we get a nice little FU against these lows down into that moving average? Definitely possible. I also remember too, and I talked about this in the broiler chicken show yesterday, how we had sort of cost of production data that sort of validated that this was basically the floor in cost of production. I don't see why that number would change materially from then to now, other than they talk about hash rate, but I don't necessarily buy into that. So, if 3,000 was basically cost of production down in here, then that would mean that after halvening, that number would be 6,000. So if that's the case, then really anything at or below this sort of $6,000-$7,000 area, I think is actually value. So again, I love the idea that pullbacks are actually buying opportunities here in the corn. If we're lucky, and over the next couple weeks, they don't take out these lows. You can see the tails here that need to be eaten. We talk about that lots. And we can start seeing divergences painted now that we're back into trade location. And then we start seeing signs of W's. Then I like the idea of hunting longs here. So we're going to have to watch closely how we behave here over the next week or two. And I think I've sort of said this recently. I do like the idea, if we look at like Ethereum, you can actually see the divergences are starting to form. We're nowhere near them coming in. You can see the bears are still very active. So there's no real hurry here. We don't have any W's. You can see they painted one W here that broke the bear, but we never did put in another W. And then we went and broke that, so creating another M. So RSI is heading down. There's no hurry here whatsoever. And if you look at all three of them, right, because we keep an eye on all of them, Bitcoin, here, and actually you can even see on this chart, right? No div yet. No div yet. No div yet. No W's yet. No W's yet. No W's yet. What's kind of cool about Bitcoin here is this is an excellent application of the RSI concept. Looks like stocks are breaking. They're breaking! That was one that I recently just bought. And I hate this with trading because I have so many tabs open. I don't know if you guys can even hear me. It's just the damn thing goes crazy. Isn't that funny? Kevin's sitting here laughing at me. Eventually it'll stop. Turn it off! Turn it off! What a mess, eh? Usually all I do is I just turn that off, but I don't know. I think YouTube's picking up that feed, yeah. Sorry, everyone. Stupid computer. Anyway. I haven't quite figured out how to deal with this alert system on TradingView if you have these multiple tabs open. I mean, it's just a mess. So, anyway, Please stop so we can go about our presentation here. Thank you. And it's weird. It just sort of, okay, I'm done. And then that's it. So sorry about that, everybody. Everybody's ears just got blown away. Remember, this video is only as good as the amount of money you have to pay for it, right? So, all right, finishing our fun little conversation. No signs of W here yet. What I did like about this, which probably sets up the trade down the road, is notice how this peak is basically near that 50 line. So what that says to me is we're probably going to have to put in a W that'll stop this most recent bear slide, creates a new one, then we rally back into that 50 area, then we come back down. And then, if we can break up through the 50 line on that second W, away we go. But we're nowhere near that. This is going to take a long time to develop. And again, sort of what I said, I don't see this turning until probably, like early April. Boo, hiss, hiss, boo. So there's no hurry here whatsoever. Now, if you want to go work some stink bids, great. Nothing wrong with that. I did find it interesting that this was basically what they call a Wyckoff check. So we had this W. They brought the market down. Look how they checked that level. And then we'll find out whether this thing's actually for real or not. If my little RSI scenario plays out the way I suggested there, it would kind of mean that probably we're going to do something like that. Right? But we're way, way, way too early to even think about that kind of conversation. Right now, I still think we're pointing lower, and we just have to wait for wherever the hell this bottom is. And as you can see, chaos theories off the top. We kind of talked about this. I don't know exactly where we need to bottom down in here. We are in location, so that's good. Now we have to wait for divergence, then signs of W's, and then we can go. So kind of like you see here. Market made a new low, divergence, didn't make a new low, then we W, then we go. So it is going to take a while to actually turn back up here. The only other thing I'll leave you off with, and of course you never know when the hell these damn alerts are going to pop up here. The only other thing I'm going to leave you off with here today, looking at the altcoins, not a hell of a lot to do here. We did have cute little fractals that fired there on the bull poop here. This is the leverage product. You can see that over the past couple of days, the wind came right out of that market sales. Boom, right back down to the bottom. But here we are just sort of bumping along the bottom end of the range here again. So there's no hurry here. There's no W's here. We are going through the process of finding bottoms. And the interesting thing is we might even be getting divergence developing through here, but we'll see how it goes. And of course, we're nowhere near that being confirmed. It would be potential, if anything. At the same time, too, you guys all know I'm trying to buy some mana here, and I got my bids down at the gaps here, and I'm not getting any fills. So I got to sit and wait and wait and sit and sit and wait, and hopefully we get a nice little FU against this bottom and back down into my levels, and I get some fills. So interestingly enough, I'm still trying to buy, and I've been asking you guys on the public to dump your mana into my bids so I can get filled at my price, and nobody seems to want to dump it into my bids. Boo! So, just FYI for you, there are crypto names that I am trying to buy. It's just I can't get fills. So, all right, I think that's the offering I'll do here for today. Sure hope you got some value out of this. I mean, really screwy market. 2020 is going to be an absolute mess. Try and trade setups, right? At least with setups, you can define where you're right and where you're wrong, right? If you're just blindly shooting in the market, you have no way of knowing whether you're right or wrong. And of course, in this kind of market state, and really probably over the next year or two, don't be married to anything. If you're going to take, I love the idea, and we talked about it at length in the Daily Brief today about dollar cost averaging on Bitcoin. If we can get anywhere near $6,000 on Bitcoin, I think it's a steal, right? Because after the halving, that old low of $3,000 cost of production, that now becomes $6,000. So anywhere in and around that area, I love the idea of dollar cost averaging. And even some of these POW coins, like I think Litecoin now is back below the cost of production. So I don't have a problem whatsoever. Anybody who tells me, I don't know where the hell damn chart is. I don't have a problem anybody telling me that they're going to come in, they're going to start dollar cost averaging on these cryptocurrencies that are below the cost of production now. I don't have a problem with that. That's basically buying value. And if anything, it's the one good selling feature of crypto right now is that how do you define value in the stock market? I mean, technically, equities have no value. If people really actually start saying, okay, I can only buy value, then believe it or not, we can actually make the sales pitch. Hey, some of these POW coins actually represent pretty good value. All right, guys, I think I'll leave the video at that. Sure hope I was of some help today. All the best. Good luck. And, of course, if you really want to really take this seriously, professionally, my advice is just hop on the site and become part of our community. Because there are guys, I hate to say it, and I don't want to sound like a dick, right? But, we teach people how to trade here. And this morning, all there was people complaining about, I should have made more money. I closed my shorts a little bit early. And I'm like, well, there are worse problems in this world to have. So way to go, TRIers, kicking ass, taking no prisoners. Really, this is where I want to get all of you guys. Consider the YouTube videos as nice little teasers. But really, I want you guys all joining these people because these guys, they're our core. They are our community. And I think we train really, really good traders. And that's the real value proposition at TRI is that we all work together to try and come up with better trade ideas. So, okay, I think I'll leave it at that. Have yourselves a great day, everybody. All the best, and bye for now.